Hello and welcome to our thought for the day. Just in case you don't know me, my name is Hannah and I'm the rector of Desborough, Braybrook, Brampton Ash and Dingley. A week ago yesterday, so the 12th of November, was Remembrance Sunday and I was preaching at St Giles. Some of you no doubt were there. And I had some really interesting feedback after the sermon that I did. Which I based on the gospel reading from Matthew 5, where Jesus is talking about if somebody hits you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also. Some of the feedback I received, both from folk just within the community of Desborough and also from people who are regular members of St Giles, was extremely positive, and people were really appreciative both of having an explanation of that passage that shed light on it in a way they hadn't heard before, and also of the idea of thinking about how we might retaliate with non-violence when we experience violence. And of course that's particularly pertinent in the world in which we find ourselves at the moment, when we see how when countries are retaliating with violence, that the violence just escalates and escalates. It simply doesn't work. But alongside some of that positive feedback, I also received some extremely negative feedback, and sadly given to me in ways that was actually rather hurtful. And I do just, as an aside, just want to remind you that vicars are human beings, and sometimes if you disagree with something that I or one of the other clergy say, please come and talk to us and tell us what it is that you're finding difficult or you disagree with. I'm always open to other people's different opinions, but it's really hard if somebody just kind of comes and dumps something on you in a negative way, and then leaves you with it without giving you the chance to then engage in conversation. But that aside, I've been reflecting on what was it that was so difficult for some people. I was told by one person it was totally inappropriate. My sermon was totally inappropriate. And I'm kind of been thinking and reflecting over this last week. I wonder what it was that felt so inappropriate. Was it inappropriate to be talking about how we might think as Christians about how we might respond to violence so that we can look for a different and a more creative way, so that we don't simply respond with more violence and escalate it? Was that what the problem was? In terms of, certainly by asking that question, and then I was then suggesting that actually by putting that into practice, that teaching of Jesus, that would actually be a way to be looking to actively strive and work for peace. Is that inappropriate to talk about on Remembrance Sunday? Maybe it is. Maybe I got that context wrong, and if I got it wrong for you, then I'm really sorry. That wasn't my intention. Maybe I misjudged my audience, and that's something for me to reflect on further, and you have my guarantee that I will. And I'll be talking to more folk about that, I hope, in the next few weeks, if they'll agree to meet with me. But I also wondered whether for some people they found it really hard, because actually this third and creative way that Jesus seems to be encouraging us to take when it comes to working towards peace is actually really costly. And I wonder whether it's, for some people, it was that cost that would come to us if we are prepared to say, I'm going to find a way to retaliate with non-violence. That felt too much. If that's the case for you, then I'm really glad that you've noticed the cost, because the reality, of course, is that it's hugely costly. Following Jesus is always going to be costly, and I think sometimes we can fall into this kind of lull of comfortableness and thinking that actually living the Christian way is going to just be comfortable and lovely. And actually, folks, it's not. It's the only way, I believe, that will actually bring life, but it comes at great cost. Some of you will know of a man called Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was a German theologian, and he wrote a whole book that he entitled The Cost of Discipleship. Jesus talked about the cost of discipleship. Take up my cross, he said, and look how he died. The cost of following Jesus is massive, but it's the only way that will bring life. And I believe that part of my job as a rector in this benefice is not just to bring comfort, but is to help people to see what it means to be disciples of Jesus, and to then give them the invitation to say, will you respond? I endeavour in every aspect of my life to say yes to that invitation to respond, to be a discipleship of Jesus. But yes, it costs. And there are many times when I opt for the comfortable option, to my shame. But if we're serious about this, if we're serious about saying, I want to follow Jesus, we have to be willing to say, am I prepared then to take what often is going to feel like the hard road rather than the easy one? If you just want a comfortable, quiet life, then actually being a disciple of Jesus isn't for you. And maybe that's where I went wrong last Sunday. Maybe my audience wasn't a group of people who predominantly were quite ready to take that step. And if you are one of those, then I'm sorry if I made things difficult for you. But hear deep down that actually my heart's longing is for each of us to know that despite the cost that it is to follow Jesus, actually it really is the only way that ultimately will lead to life and to peace, not only for us as individuals, but for our world. God bless.